I'm about to show you how to tear down a Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con and how to put it back together. This info can be useful if you're doing a repair, a mod, or if you're just curious. I'll be doing all this to the right Joy-Con, but I will occasionally show the inside of the left one to point out a few key differences. Note, anytime you're taking apart a compact electronic device like this, there is always risk of breaking a key component, so proceed at your own risk. Before beginning, I suggest you take a Q-tip or a rag and clean off any dirt that has accumulated on the sides of the Joy-Con, especially around this section here. This will make it easier to take apart. Also clean these two screws right here if they look dirty. To get the teardown started, we need to peel off this strip that I just mentioned. It has a little bit of adhesive on it. I find it best to start at the curved part and stick my fingernail into the end of it and just remove it like this. With that gone, there are a total of 4 screws to remove, 2 on each side. 3 of those are tri-wing. We'll go ahead and remove those first. Then we'll switch to a Phillips, and that's the only type of screw we'll encounter for the rest of this video. Next, we need to pull the 2 halves apart. They are held together strongly, so we do need to use some force. But bear in mind, there is a wire connecting them, so you don't want to get too carried away. That connector is problematic because it's very tight and there isn't very much to grab onto at the top of it in order to pull it out. So for that reason, I'm going to suggest you do not disconnect it unless you absolutely have to. The only thing on the other side is the rumble device. I myself will be disconnecting it, but I'm going to wait till later in this video. Next, we'll turn our attention to this area. This release button comes right off if it didn't fall out already. Next, we're going to pry off the ZR button by sticking a tool under this lip right here and just prying it up. Under it was a spring, which for me just came loose. I'm going to go ahead and set it aside. If it did not come loose, just squeeze it like this and remove it. Next, you need to remove these 2 screws right here. Note, one screw is longer and it's a different color. Now this spacer can be removed. You may want to store the screws in the part like this, just so you remember which one goes where. And ignore any cat fur you see in this video. Next, we'll remove these 3 screws. Now we can lift the battery holder a little bit and remove the R button. There are 2 tiny springs on it, and they can both be removed by just pulling on them. Next, we'll concentrate on getting the battery and its holder removed. First, we'll disconnect the wiring. Luckily, compared to the connector next to it, this one has more plastic to grab onto. Next, we'll turn the battery holder over like this, which will reveal a ribbon cable underneath. We'll disconnect that by lifting the little gate on it and pulling the ribbon out. Then the battery holder can be moved away. Now we'll remove this screw to remove the ZR button mechanism. Now I'm going to show you how to remove the battery, but I'd only recommend doing it if you have a good reason to do so, because the battery is stuck on there very tightly with a bunch of glue. Some people suggest putting alcohol around the edges of the battery in order to loosen the glue. I'm going to recommend that you don't do that because I tried it and it didn't seem to loosen it that much. Another reason not to do it is that there is a moisture indicator right here. If one drop of the alcohol gets on it, it's going to smear those dots, and anyone in the future going inside is going to assume that this Joy-Con got water damaged. I realize this point may not matter that much to some people though. Regardless, I found the best way to remove the battery is by heating it. Not by a lot. I'm using a heat gun at the lowest temperature possible. A hairdryer may also work. I rotated the battery holder through the heat so that it was evenly distributed. I then pried it apart, and here we go. Some of the foam padding got damaged in the process, and I did end up accidentally getting alcohol on the moisture indicator, so it did its thing. Next, we'll concentrate on getting the analog thumbstick removed. If you're doing the left Joy-Con, things will be positioned differently. We'll disconnect these 3 ribbon cables and remove these 2 screws. There's some tape here, so we'll peel up one side of it. In this video, I'm peeling up this side, but I'm going to recommend you peel it from the other side instead. It's just going to be a little bit easier. Then we'll remove all these screws. One is under the ribbon cable here. Next, we'll flip the board over like this, like turning a page in a book. And the analog stick can now be removed. This is a very compact thing with metal tabs holding it together tightly. Going inside can be destructive, and I do not recommend doing it unless you absolutely have to. I'll go ahead and show how to take it apart anyway. First, I'm going to remove the thumbstick knob. This is another action I do not recommend because it took a lot of force to get the knob off. I pushed down and twisted it counterclockwise. It was so tight I had to use my shirt and hold the mechanism with pliers. I thought for sure it was going to snap off, and I probably came close to doing so, but eventually it began to turn. Note that spring that's inside the white thing. I should have grabbed it at this point and set it aside, but I didn't, and it ended up just coming out at some point during this procedure. So if you're doing this, go ahead and grab it and set it aside. The plastic ring can be removed by unclamping it from the metal. We will now bend the metal tabs upward. That is a very difficult thing to do because of how tiny those tabs are and how closely they are pressed against the plastic. It's hard to get something underneath it, and the tabs also easily break off because they're so fragile, and that's what happened here. Here's what the inside looks like. And this is what it looks like when you take all those little pieces apart. Now back to the Joy-Con. The pad for the face buttons can be pulled up. Each one of those buttons is connected to the pad with glue, and they can be pulled apart if for some reason you need to. We'll remove the green board. On the front shell, there are 3 more buttons and 3 more pads to be removed. There's no glue this time. Note if you're working the left Joy-Con, there is 1 less button overall. Next, we'll remove these 2 screws. This one is longer than the other, so be sure to remember that. Now the side panel can be picked up. We'll remove these 4 gold screws. Then we'll remove this plastic strip. Note the spring and the knob right here. We can also lift this connector out of place. There is another strip of components stuffed in there, and you can press the buttons on the other side to make it come up. Note it has 4 springs attached to it, and from what I can see, they cannot be pulled off. That leaves some buttons, including this tiny sync button. We don't have much left before we start putting things back together. We'll now disconnect these wires here. Like I said before, it's a tight connector without much plastic to grab onto. I chose to just pull them out by pulling straight up on the wires, but if you have a really precise instrument, you may be able to grab the top of the plastic. This last mechanism is what gives the Joy-Con the rumble. There is adhesive under it, but if you stick a tool right under this part here, you can pry it out. Going inside of this will likely destroy it. So I'm just going to declare this the end of the teardown part, and we'll now put everything back together. We'll start the reassembly by taking the rumble mechanism and placing it back into its spot like so. Then we'll reconnect its wires. Then we'll take this edge piece and position it like this and place the SL and SR buttons back into place. And then we'll place the sync button into place right here. And over top of that, we'll put this strip that has the 4 springs. There's a small notch in the middle of it here that needs to go into the plastic piece right here. Then we'll press this port into place. Here I'll check against the duplicate Joycon to make sure the buttons are facing the right way. Now we'll locate this little button and its spring. We'll put the spring into it and place it into this spot. Note the arrow-like shape of the top is pointing upward. Then we'll take this black piece and place it into position, making sure the button goes through the hole. Make sure the black piece is not flipped upside down. We'll place the 4 gold screws back into place here. Test the button to make sure it's functioning correctly. It's not really a button, it's more like a catch mechanism. We'll place the edge piece into the front shell and place these 2 screws back into place. Note the one on the left is a longer screw. We'll place all the buttons and pads into place. In the case of the face buttons, make sure they are stuck back on if you separated them. We'll now turn our attention to the analog stick. Assuming you were crazy enough to take it all the way apart like this is how you put it back together. Position the gray piece, exactly as I show here, with the square part on the bottom left corner. Then take a look at these 2 black pieces. They each have a set of what I call fangs. One of them has a longer set of fangs, and the piece has more curvature to it. Take that one and stick it into the gray piece so that the fangs are pointing upward on this side. Push it down enough and it'll fall into place. Then take the other piece and place it over top of the other one, fangs facing up, and on the top side of the gray piece. Now take one of these 2 wipers and clamp it into one of the set of fangs. This is very tricky to pull off. Then do the same for the other one. Then take a look at this gold piece. There are 2 tiny prongs on it and an outer wall. Press it into this slot so that the prongs face upward and the wall is on the outside. Now for something very difficult. Take this little piece and push it into this section here. It has a tendency to bounce away and fall into the mechanism, but you just gotta keep trying. At some point, you kinda gotta hold it down with your finger and just press down on it. Stick the analog stick in like this. Close everything up. Put the spring back in. Snap this ring back into place. Then screw the cap back on by pressing it and turning clockwise. Take the module and lay it down in the middle like this, and note where the ribbon cable for it is. Put the board over top of it while making sure that ribbon cable doesn't end up underneath it. put these 7 screws back in. The 2 in the middle are silver. For me, the black tape on the analog module got mangled, so I'm just adding some fresh new tape here. Reattach the 3 ribbon cables, making sure the gates are open before pushing them in. And of course, close the gates once they are in. Put the battery back into its compartment. Then place this little board back on. And put the silver screw back into it. That little ribbon needs to go around the back of the holder and into this connector here. So go ahead and connect it. Then grab the R button and make sure the springs are back on it. Then place it into the battery holder. There are 2 nodules on the battery holder here, and those need to go into the springs. As you get it onto the springs, push the battery holder into place, like this. Connect the battery cable. We'll put these screws back into place. Then take this spacer and place it back into place. A silver screw goes here, and a black screw goes here. Put this spring back into place. Snap the ZR button back into place. And then lay this release button into its spot. Put the back shell back on. Put the last Phillips screw into place right here. Then put the 3 tri-wings back. Then push this strip back into position. And that's it. If you found this video useful, please leave a like, and thank you for watching.